Can you guess who we're gonna start with first? Can you guess? Just a wild guess. Who we gonna start this stream off with? Who we gonna start? Yeah, it's gonna be a Caddy video, of course. We're gonna watch one of his old ones for MediEvil Remake. Which is a game I do need to play. I think I played a little bit of the remake, but I have not played the original, and I only played like maybe an hour of the remake. I can't remember. I honestly cannot remember. But yeah. Yeah, let's go. Let's go.
Huh? What's this? Who killed Mozart? I don't know.
What?
I'm not a policeman. Hello? What's that? You heard I was bored and so sent me a game that I can play?
Oh my god.
And you thought you'd buy me an actual Halloween-themed game because all the other games I've covered so far this month have been really stretching it? And you left it for me by the front door? Well, thank you very much. Now I've got to move. I was just getting comfortable as well.
Rude, honestly.
What's this then?
Yeah, sorry
Dear
for the
Caddy,
ads.
thank
I
you for
honestly,
reviewing the PS
there's no
Classic
controlling
we
them
sent
on
you
Twitch.
and dumping all over it. Here's another free gift for you, you ungrateful swine. Your parents should be ashamed. MediEvil PS4 review code.
Oh my god, yes! MediEvil PS4! MediEvil PS4!
Here it is, everyone. The game that the 2019 month of terror
Ah, my eyes! I got flashbanged
is
already.
building up to. Thank you so much to Sony for sending me a review copy. This one I was excited for.
What can be said about the original MediEvil other than it makes Google think you can't spell? I made a video about it years ago that you can see right up there. And
Yeah,
to put it
I love. This has happened to me like multiple times, where it's like you'll type in a name of something, like if it's a video game, movie, TV show, like something, and it's like Google will ask you, "Do you mean this? Are you okay? Are you drunk right now?" It's like, no, that's just how it's fucking spelled. Google, don't judge.
I love this little 1998 gem. The quick and reactive hack and slash gameplay, the locations and atmosphere, the voice acting, the music, it's pure PlayStation bliss as far as I'm concerned. And after 21 years, it's great to see such a diamond in the rough get the high budget main console treatment it deserves. And no, I'm not talking about that.
The original game sold decently at the time, at least enough for them to make a sequel in the year 2000, but over the years, the series itself garnered more of a cult
Yeah, I had
following
never
more
heard
than
of
a
it
pop
until the
culture
remake.
mob like Crash and Spyro for the PS1. And then in 2005, Sony decided to remake MediEvil for the PSP. And then in 2019, Sony decided to remake MediEvil for the PS4.
Okay, I didn't know about the PSP one. Like, the first time I heard about it was when they remade it for PS4. So, I literally, it went by me twice before, I guess third time was a charm for me. But yeah, does anybody know? I'm pretty sure Yomi would know, because Yomi played the original. If there's like any difference between the remake and the original besides just graphics. So
And then in
I'm kinda
2033, Sony decided to remake MediEvil.
Okay, so before I get into the main game itself, did any of you check out the demo for this when it launched? I did, and can I just say that this demo took me right back to being a kid again? I vividly remember playing
Wow,
this
I didn't
game's
even know
demo
there was
on
a
this
demo.
magazine demo disc years and years ago, and to see that the PS4 remake demo gave you the exact same levels to explore and same structure as the original PS1 demo before cutting you off and telling you to get the full thing made my insides feel like warm soup. You know,
Might
the kind
just
that's
be
so good it
graphical
gives you
upgrading, yeah.
acid reflux? The PS4 demo gave me indigestion. Not only that, but the main game item you could earn exclusively from the demo was a neat little bonus in the form of
Yeah, I'm
Dan's
just a
old
little
helmet.
curious
but
to see if there-
would you look at that? Well played,
If I should just play the
developers. This isn't just a
remake,
cosmetic thing. It's an additional
try to play
difficulty that
both?
makes the enemies way tougher and hit you much harder. What a nice thanks for making me sit down and wait for 11 gigabytes of 2 levels to download. Now, whether or not this stuff is from the
Caddy.
copy Sony sent to
Complaining
me or just part
about
of the digital
11
deluxe bundle, I'm
gigabytes?
not sure, but I also got a
11?
few bonus items along with the main
Oh,
game,
boy.
including an adorable digital comic book with animated panels and music going into more of the history of Sir Dan's character, and even a digital concept art book that lets me move a cursor around the screen. and point at things, can you see that this zombie is without a head?
Wow.
Well, now you can. Oh lord, watch out everyone, it's the Mad Family. Don't we all love those people? Oh yeah, guys, our family is so wacky. We're so funny when you get to know us. We're all mad in this house. This isn't a car, it's Mum's
Look at all those
taxi.
faces of
Isn't Daddy
sociopaths.
Pig overweight, just like your real life daddy? Put him in a shirt, he knows. See, we're all a mad family, aren't we?
They are the worst.
That was nightmarish.
Parents suck. Kids suck. And that's why I have this game.
So we get this brand new and glossy intro cutscene for the remake to kick us off, and would you believe it's more or less a shot-for-shot redo of the original game? My nostalgia levels are already bursting, and I only ate 10 minutes ago. The main villain of the story then appears, Zarok, who my phone corrected to as Aaron, and he honestly looks as good as he's ever looked.
How the fuck
For
do
what
you
that
get
means,
Aaron
anyway.
out of
He doesn't look
Zarok?
like a moldy, shriveled banana. The possessed village family look great too, and not like what my face is like when I've run out of chicken nuggies.
Sorry, you're probably wondering
Not
what's
the
going
chicken
on.
nugget.
I just assumed you've already played the original. Aren't I a silly old bag of bones? Here is the rundown.
In the kingdom of Gallowmere, there lived a sorcerer named Zarok. Sorry, Aaron, who was the king's jester and court magician over 100 years ago, but got banished after dabbling in necromancy, you know, as you do. As an act of retaliation, he built an army of the dead he raised himself and attacked the castle, but ultimately failed due to the courageous acts of Sir Daniel Fortescue, who led the charge into battle against Zarok and struck him down despite being mortally wounded. At least that's what history told us. You see, actually, Daniel was appointed as captain of King Peregrine's knights for no other reason than he was a terrific storyteller who lied about how many battles against dragons he won, and was just a little bit of a jerk who stepped on other people and worked his way up to being one of the king's favourite people. The captain of the knights position he held was purely honorary, because when it came to the battle
Shocker.
against Zarok, he actually got sacked on the first charge.
Yeah,
he
I
didn't
remember
do
this.
anything, but
I
because of
remember
his good
this part.
standing with the king, he became the ultimate face of all the legendary heroes of Gallowmere, much to the despair of the people that actually knew him. So like it or lump it, when Zarok raises the dead many years later as step one for his revenge against Gallowmere, duty calls and Sir Daniel is the one resurrected into action from his crypt in order to save the kingdom because of his fraudulent history. And even though he was a bit of a sarcastic coward in life, in death, with everyone telling him they know the truth and that he'll never make it, he finally has a chance to prove himself as a worthy and loyal warrior. And Sir Daniel can't speak, so his actions are very important. Gallowmere is a gothic horror paradise. Graveyards have coffins literally leaping out of the dirt and soil. Crop fields have been overrun with possessed scarecrows and living rusted machinery. Insane asylums have been left alone for patients to go totally feral. Ancient towns flooded for hundreds of years are suddenly risen again. Villages of people are turning violent and aggressive, and undead soldiers from many eons ago are left restless and wandering, all thanks to Zarok's magic. So you've got to fix all the locals' problems, put the undead to rest, stop Zarok from finding a special key that kept his shadow demon army locked up for years, and finally take him down. And also, if you
So
have
no
the eye
pressure.
for it, which Dan doesn't, you can retrieve all the hero chalices from every level and finally earn yourself a legit place amongst the Hall of Heroes, and not because you were the king's spoiled little brat.
You spend most of your time organizing and changing of the guard and playing croquet with the king.
You know what? I've always wondered why there's a
Not the
statue of Sir
croquet.
Dan in the middle of this cemetery,
croquet.
but as a skeleton, with no left eye and a missing jaw. Surely that's disrespectful. Maybe we should go to Mount Rushmore and put a hole in Lincoln's head. Okay, so now we're at the main
What?
menu, and my god, look at it. It's the same as the PS1
Wait a
game
minute,
too.
Caddy.
I can't handle much more of this.
Wait a second. Is that what I thought it was? It's the original voice clips. Oh. Oh, my poor aching heart. I
Caddy?
cannot take the stop. I can't take the nostalgia.
The intro level in Dan's Crypt remains as one of the easiest intro levels in video game history. It lasts about a minute long and is a straight line with one branching path. So it's here where it's completely safe to pull your own arm out and use it as a boomerang and listen to Lady Olenna from Game of Thrones read you a bedtime story.
You must be out of shape after 100 years lying on your back.
And that's not the only addition in the audio department. Yes, they used basically all the same voice clips from the original game, but the music backing it all up, even though the same tunes, has been completely redone with a proper full-blown classical orchestra, and it sounds magnificent. In fact, I got a digital soundtrack with my review copy too, and it even showed me studio footage of the musicians recording the music. It's so cool to see the magic happen.
Like, as much as I do love the physical copies of games and stuff, and having that stuff I'll come on the physical where you can keep it and it not be digital. I do love the fact when games, without having to pay extra, by the way, without having to pay extra. It'll have extra stuff like the music or the art or just even making of the game or something. You know, behind the scenes stuff. Without paying extra. I support that. Even if it is digital. Although, still, physical, it needs a comeback, because it's getting sad.
In real time, and sometimes pretty funny. I don't recommend you listen to all the individual instrument parts though, because then all you'll be doing is watching a lot of quiet nothing. And then all of a sudden, you also get to see a woman eating her packed lunch. This is the digital deluxe content I paid for. So MediEvil is an action-adventure platforming hack-and-slash hybrid that uses a lot of short stages instead of one giant open one. By using a variety of ranged and melee weapons to protect yourself while interacting with objects by pushing and using your weapons for secondary uses like lighting a club on fire to make a torch, you solve puzzles, survive waves of enemies all with different designs, attacks and defenses, fight a few bosses and eventually beat Zarok. There's a nifty auto-locking feature that you can cycle through enemies with by pressing L1. After beating one of the earlier bosses, you can dash and then do a dash jump for a longer gap. The levels have plenty of hidden areas accessed by using other weapons effectively. You use different colored shields of different strengths to guard yourself from attacks and obstacles by holding another button. Dan, what the hell are you doing? You find health bottles to extend your total life bar and find life pools to refill them. And well, yeah, it's all great stuff. It's good to see it come back. Playing this game felt like I was cradling my own son.
Oh my god, Caddy, what is that?
I make some fucked up babies.
In fact, I was really surprised how well the level designers held up from the original.
Say anything
it's
out
nowhere
loud,
near as linear as it looks. Even if a stage lasts no longer than 10 minutes, you'll be searching all over the place for runes to open other gates and doors in the level and keys to access other areas from previous levels. Optional and required, even with a cheeky new boss hiding behind them if you're lucky. The same goes for the map screen level select. After certain parts of the game, it's totally up to you which direction you go. Then after reaching the ends of those branching paths, you then use other items discovered in other levels with all the delightfully colourful characters to get even more items for use towards the end of the game's story, or just more weapons, shields, extending health bottles, life vials, or money which can be used to then buy more ammo, weapon enchantments, shield repairs, or if you're really unlucky, extremely powerful and valuable weapons that get stolen from you by an imp, and the only way to get them back is by buying them from a gargoyle, and they're usually the most expensive items in the game. And because of that, I hate these little cretins more than anything. They're fast, they're tiny, they're hard to hit, they set you on fire, they steal your weapons and make me want to boil the first thing I see.
Caddy.
I also make too many babies. They've got to go somewhere.
You can even discover totally optional paths for optional rewards. For example, like this one part of the game where you grab a talisman from a cave hidden behind a breakable bookshelf, then use it on a cauldron in a much later stage, leading you to 2 optional search and rescue quests in a brand new optional level in the ant colony, which then lets you get rewarded with one of the many chalices you can get to unlock increasingly better tiers of weapons after you finish a stage, and a new optional chicken drumstick weapon that bombs enemies and turns them into edible roast chickens to get your health back. Now that kind of stuff makes it worth going out of your way to get everything, and not just for completionist's sake, or the additional gameplay segment you'd otherwise miss. You won't be doing exactly the same things in every stage either, such as with the final boss, where the first part of it gives you a one-off segment where you need to share your own health to stop your own skeleton army from falling apart so they can take down the opposing army's health bars, and inside the insane asylum where you have to survive increasingly difficult waves of enemies and zombies to then open locked doors and finish the level. I think MediEvil would like a word with you, Call of Duty? The asylum grounds force you to solve riddles from another character, while more of a hedge maze opens up with more puzzles you need to solve. And even the ant caves throw you into a total maze-like labyrinth you need to work your way out of.
By the way, the dragons are Scottish.
Who dares to enter my lair and wake me from my slumber?
Did you know fairies had stubbles? And are cockneys?
My people wish only to live our lives in blissful harmony with nature.
Check it out, even the Hall of Heroes makes its glorious return. The mechanic in which, by finding a very well hidden chalice in every stage that you can't pick up until killing enough enemies to fill a percentage bar, then allows you to get taken to the hall after every stage so you can talk to one of the many statues of your old friends or rivals that know the truth about your history, and in order to help you out, give you either a brand new weapon, more health vials, or more money. And something the remake does, which I like a lot, is let the souls of the enemies you take down float towards the hiding place of the chalice if you're struggling to find it. With this system, you get a ridiculous arsenal by the end of the game, and since the order of weapons you grab is only relative to how many chalices you have and not the level you get the chalice in, it's a fantastic completionist reward. The more you get, the gradually more powerful weapons you end up with. The final one of which being, well, Oh, tatties. What's that? You don't think I'm worthy enough to get to the upstairs level? Well, I'll show you. Oh, crap. Just like I showed off in the intro, all
That'd
the
be
original
me.
voice samples
That
are
would
with the
be
hero
me.
statues too, but just totally uncompressed for the PS4 disc space, and I'm majorly happy with that, because the deliveries of these guys just can't be improved. It's impossible.
Some say it is better to have a magic sword than a magic shield, but I say to use it as is rubbish!
Dan does sound a bit different, but he's still voiced by the same guy as the original game, and to be honest, he didn't really sound like anything to begin with, so if you don't like it, then you're a bit of a... Even the evil sorcerer Zarok has his old voice clips returned, which is great, since he has the
late
greatest
Caddy
delivery of an English swear word I've
era.
ever heard in a game. Rest in peace, Paul Darrow. You may have not had many
Caddy
lines in this
lore.
game, but damn did you own the screen when you did. All the weapons have a standard and alternate swing or firing mode too, usually a quick and weak attack and a stronger attack that needs to be charged up. And basically all the weapons have different added effects for their charge attacks and not just the damage, so it's definitely worth searching high and low to find the chalices and experiment with the weapons. Well, except with the crossbow. The alternate firing mode is Sir Dan doing the same attack but holding the crossbow sideways. Now come on, that's funny. Once you hit me, you'll never cleave me. Never cleave me, child.
If you've never played the original game before, then everything I just said will sway your decision on whether or not you should purchase this remake. But if you have played the original before, then everything I just said has essentially wasted your time.
Wanna know why? Because this is, note for note, exactly the same game as the original, including where you get completely trapped by a spinning scarecrow, can't attack, can't guard, can't run, can't jump, and have no choice but to game over.
Oh,
Lovely.
it's my favourite bit.
No joke though, aside from some new controls and a smoother play experience in general, everything else is identical. The structure, stages and level design, spinning your entire body around when you swing a sword, I still love that. You could easily beat this 2019 remake while looking at a MediEvil guidebook from 1998. Well, except when you're trying to find the locations of the new hidden souls added in this game that you can grab and take back to other levels and put them in a place they tell you to put them. Yeah.
That's really kind of cool though, because it's like even yeah, like you said with the added extra stuff for the remake, it's like besides that you could literally use the old PS1 little booklet to help you play the game. Now, see, that's a remake of a game. When it's basically the same at its core, you could use the old walkthrough guide to help you. And it's just, see, don't get me wrong. Some of the remakes of video games are awesome on their own when they do their own thing. I love some of them. But sometimes you just want a little of that nostalgia with a little extra.
This was boring as hell, so I won't talk any more about it. So aside from the obvious looks, which I will get into, what else are there in differences? Well, first and foremost, the control is buttery smooth. Swinging swords and spamming square for quick attacks feels a lot more like you're gliding sword strokes across the screen and doing flowing combos, instead of just rapidly darting your arm left and right like in the original. And platforming is much easier in this version due to the tighter handling jump arc with more manageable mid-air control and less slippy weight when landing. Sir Dan feels more grounded, which is great because that makes jumping on these mushrooms a lot easier and lets you fully take in the delicious sloshing sounds they make. You've also got the choice to equip two weapons at once and switch between them with triangle, which, believe it or not, is revolutionary for the series.
Modern
and this
graphical
not only makes
fairy
switching
dust.
between your preferred range and melee weapon much less cumbersome and feels much better to use, which encourages you to
remastered,
use more weapons, where it
remake,
was a bit of a
honestly, I
put-off
get
in the
them
original with how clumsy
switched
it was,
around so
but
many
it also
times.
makes some weapons like the enchanted broadsword much more fun to use. You see, the damage of this weapon is criminally ridiculous when it's charged to 100% enchantment and a
is
merchant gargoyle.
a pumpkin
but whenever
that looks
you
like
have
it
the
needs to
weapon
take a
equipped,
dump.
it drains its magic at like 1% a second. In the original, this was really annoying because you'd use the weapon and then to save the energy for it, pause and switch it out with another weapon, and then pause and switch it out when you wanted to use it again every single time you wanted to use it. But now all you have to do is equip it to your secondary weapon rack, use another weapon as your primary so you don't waste the magic of the sword, and then quickly switch it out only when you need to use it, and then switch it right back again so it can be in your weapon rack and not waste the energy. I mean, after fully completing your 14th level, you unlock the magic sword, which is permanently powerful, making the enchanted sword worthless useless after that point, but for the first 2/3 of the game, it's a bloody godsend. There are other weapon balances too, like with the standard bash attack for the club and hammer. The hammer itself is an optional weapon to unlock, but the standard bash attack behaves exactly the same way as the club and breaks the same objects, except the club has a percentage bar that when at 0 will break the weapon forever until you get another one, and the hammer never breaks. Now in the original game, the choice between the two was a no-brainer. Get the hammer and never use the club to bash things, only use the club to light things on fire. But now, even though the hammer bash is the same as the club bash, to compensate for it being a weapon that doesn't break, the standard swing is much slower, which actually made me consider if in certain places I wanted to use the quickness of the club and sacrifice a bit of percentage for it, or open myself up to more attacks with the much slower bash of the hammer that doesn't break. It's a small change, but really appreciated. But then the hammer does have one of the best alternate charge attacks in the game, so yeah, I ended up mostly using that anyway. What else has changed?
Yeah, you mostly just
you run
that
all the
looks like
time,
you're just
that's
going
something,
full
and the speed of
for
Daniel is
mode,
pinpoint
so-
perfect and nowhere near as erratic as the original game. If you only had a D-pad for the original game, you'd need to double tap the arrows to run, so yeah, I'm glad we all have analog as standard now. Dan is just smoother to control all around. Camera control has improved a ton, as to be expected, with the right stick moving it around instead of the triggers, but then this is a bit of a double-edged sword. The control of the camera itself may be better, but in my opinion, the camera distance is just a little too close for my liking, especially in the more claustrophobic corridors and crypts. The only places it feels exactly the same as the original are when you're in the fixed camera locations.
Yeah,
It's
I
mostly
kind of
fine
noticed
and
that
you
when you compare the OG to this one, the camera looks zoomed in. So that's probably going to mess with the game a bit when you mess with a camera angle. Because you're just gonna have to, you're basically playing the same game. It's just you're literally just zoomed in, so you got to compensate for that. That's got to be disorienting.
get used to it, but it's not ideal. There's also this new feature with the left trigger, a strafe command. Yeah, even though it looks like one, this here is not an aiming feature, which would make way more sense with an angle like this. And trust me, I tested it out on the first proper level of the game. I got on top of a hill and aimed down towards some of the enemies with the throwing daggers, only to see the camera constantly snap back to my eye level. It never stayed up or down. They clearly wanted this to be used as a strafe, so if that's the case, why is the camera pulled in like in Resident Evil 4 when it's not built like that? Look at some of the times I used it. You can barely make out what's even going on. The camera is so close. I mean, it's really nice to aim left and right more accurately and get a better idea on where things are from a singular perspective at least. And with this feature, you get used to zoom in on that scaly booty the original game wishes it had. If you use it well, you won't waste any ammo at all. And with the fire-breathing dragon armor in the late game, using it while strafing is practically game-breaking. It's so powerful. But if you can't aim freely up or down and don't have an aiming reticle because you still have the auto-lock fairy thing, why is the camera like this? It's cumbersome, especially when you want to use it as a quick camera snap to get behind Dan, which is handy as hell, but with the camera being so close, it can cause disorientation. Mario 64 DS managed this absolutely fine. It's a shame too, because with this feature, I used ranged weapons way more in this game than in the original. It is useful, but definitely could have been better. And this isn't me calling for the fact that you should be able to aim the camera up and down and freely aim around with like a third-person aiming mode or something like that, because honestly, with the way this game's built, that would break the game entirely. It'd be way too easy. So what I mean is, just pull the camera back when you go into strafe mode. I don't know why it's so close. And also, do yourself a favor and remember that if you want to quick turn the camera, whenever you press the strafing trigger, the camera locks you behind wherever Dan himself is facing, not where the camera is facing. So make sure Dan is facing the way you want the camera to point before pressing it. Oh, also, there's this golden armor I found in my inventory, which may have been a digital deluxe exclusive again, but I'm really not sure. And even though it looks cool, meh, I'd rather have Jawless Johnny over here. By the way, what is with this apple in a hat that I found hidden in a haystack? What's that all about? Oh, he's in the end credits too? Why?
Apple Jacks. Jack Skellington.
Oh no.
Skeleton. Sir Dan. No, I don't get it.
Bouncy, bouncy, bouncy brain, jump on it and bounce again. Squishy, squashy, so much fun. Bouncy brain.
Oi! Oi, you! Nobody stops my blobby brain birthday bonanza!
Sorry.
Goddamn.
Sorry, everybody.
Caddy?
Caddy just went Maddie.
Oh, not the Maddie Caddy.
But he isn't a baddie.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
So aren't we all gladdy?
How about dem visuals
Shut
then?
up.
Okay, so as a whole, the game looks magnificent. Don't get me wrong, it can look downright gorgeous for a PS4 game, and it's very much like a dark folklore fairy tale come to life. But unlike the Insane trilogy that took the exact same cartoony style and just amplified it, I seem to think this lost a little something in translation from PS1 to PS4. This looks a lot less Tim Burton and more 2019 Addams Family. I mean, you could call it nostalgia, but I'm not too sure. The jaggedy and primitive PS1 models and textures really gave the original this unmistakable sense of angular gothic harshness, like a mansion. There were darker colors, a bleaker atmosphere. It's slightly more unsettling. More unsettling than being able to see through Dan's arms, though? Nope, that will never be okay. Even with Dan's standard run, don't get me wrong, I love the goofier, lolloping bounce as he gallops around with his spine plopping in and out of his body. Except when he does this. Dan, please stop it. But he's lost that weird, rigid urgency from the original. He looks way more skeletal in that game and feels like he's been dormant for a century and can't figure out how his joints work. Take other examples like the ant caves. In the original game,
like he needs
I'd
some
argue they were actually
WD-40.
kind of creepy with the
Loosen
stiff
up them
enemy
joints.
movements and utter pitch black tunnels. But now, it's mostly brightly lit, and the enemies are kind of cute. Well, except the Ant Queen. I mean, you can stuff that in your mum hole. Although I can't deny it does look great and has many pluses. One thing I do love is how Dan twists his whole head around and stares at you if you haven't moved in a while. When you buy things from the merchant gargoyles, they end up scoffing down your coins. That's brilliant. The enchanted earth actually looks like a magical forest this time, and not like your great-granddad's shed. The crystal caves look untouched and gleaming, and not like a dirty kitchen. The chalices you collect actually get individually added onto the long table in the Hall of Heroes. The pools of the ancient dead look even more foreboding and diseased. The lava looks suitably hot. Spears and arrows you fire at enemies get stuck in their bodies while you fight them. Lots of weapons have unique particle effects. Jack of the Green has these brilliantly stony stop-motion styled animations. There's flies gathering around rotting meat at the market of the sleeping village. The world map has subtle animations from the obstacles you'll encounter in the stages, and the extending life bottles you collect, once run out, won't just go empty, but will fall over on top of your health bar. I'm not going to sit here and say this game isn't pretty and has no detail, because it certainly does, and it can be utterly revolting, like with the pumpkin serpent. That thing looks nasty. But aesthetically, I really think MediEvil is better suited to bleak gothic horror than bouncy and cartoonish, even if it is a little bit morbid. And what about this frame rate, eh? Been waiting for me to mention it? So here's the thing. This game touts that it's PS4 Pro enhanced. I use a PS4 Pro, and most PS4 games with Pro enhancements allow you to pick between performance modes and visual modes to go full out with 4K resolution gaming at the cost of lower frame rates. God of War does this, and heck, even Neo did this back in 2017 and allowed for a mode with seamless 60 FPS gameplay that still looked fantastic. But MediEvil doesn't have this in any options menu I could find, so I don't know what exactly the enhancements are, but whatever they are, I'm sure they could have been sacrificed to get the game running smoother than this. Most of the time it runs at 60 FPS fine enough, and during indoor sections it's actually perfect, but when you notice those frame drops in bigger open areas, boy do you notice them, especially in areas like the Sleeping Village, which never seem to run smoothly no matter where you are. Neo is a much bigger game with similar structured levels instead of one giant open world, and yet it still looks better and runs smoother. So if regular PS4 owners are stuck with even worse frame rates than what the PS4 Pro can handle, I kind of feel sorry for you.
Well, hey, at least with whatever system you own, we can all play this.
Who's that?
That's one of the things about the PlayStation 5 Pro. It's like they're still trying to tout this same thing where it's like performance versus like 4K, 8K, 200K resolution, all the pixels, everything. It's like, but I think still to this day it's better for you to play without all that and just to stick with performance, because it's still the frame rate will still fuck up. Last time I heard anyway. So yeah, it's to this day it's still kind of shite.
Hiding in the grave?
Hello!
But hey, from the sound of my ranting from that part of the video just then,
Welcome
you may
back,
assume
Panda.
that I'm disappointed with the MediEvil remake. And I'm not. I still recommend you go and get it. It's good. I just think it could have done with a little bit more refining. I mean, it's still the same base great game that I've loved and cherished for years, but it controls as good as it ever has done, and it still looks and sounds fantastic.
Yeah, lower graphics for
But
better
I wanted to
frame
call
rate
this the
is always
definitive
like
version of
gonna be
MediEvil,
number
which
one.
I don't think it is. I think it's as good as the original. Which is more than I can say for MediEvil Resurrection, at least. Oh, mama.
I can see myself going back to this one over the original just because of how it feels to play and that it fulfills my nostalgia by using close to all of...
I'm sure I've ranted about this before in previous streams and videos, but don't get a PS5 Pro. Just don't. Like, if you want a PS5, hopefully you can find the regular original cheap somewhere, because it's the way they've literally cut up the PlayStation 5, and then with the Pro as well, they've put microtransactions. You have to you pay more than when it originally released. You pay more just to have a disc drive. It's fucking ridiculous.
The original voice clips, and that it's exactly
but I'm
the
not
same
gonna rant
6 to
about
7
it
hour
again
adventure with the exact same
for like
levels.
5 hours.
It knew what worked from before and kept it
Ooh,
in
it
while
pisses me off.
updating around it, and I appreciate that. But damn, I just desperately wish the performance was better and the camera not as unpredictable. If anything, when the PS5 finally launches and it makes PS4 games running
30th
smoother,
anniversary
that's when
controller.
I'll be replaying
Oh no, they
this one.
suck you
I won't
in
have a
with the
reason to go back to
fucking
the PS1 version
special
after that.
anniversary what has you controllers.
All I care about right now is where the hell is the love for MediEvil 2? It was really good. The original game has been remade twice now. I mean, even the digital comic book that came with my game directly references the events that happened after MediEvil 2. And on the loading screen for the time device level, what's this? It could take you to modern London or Egypt. Is that a teaser, Sony? It better be a teaser.
The fuck?
Hello?
Not the Game Boy Advance as a phone
Sir
again.
Daniel Fortescue. What's that? You're coming over for dinner tonight? But you can't chew! Well, I'm gonna go and get ready right now, so you can come over whenever you want and drink all of my wine with your throat that doesn't exist, and I'll go and put on your favourite song.
Oh my god! No! Fucking hell, Caddy.
Happy Halloween to everybody out there. Yes, this is my Halloween special. Hope you enjoyed it. The bloopers and the outtakes will be on at the end of this video, so please stay tuned for that. But first of all, thank you for staying through from the beginning to the end of this video. That means you enjoyed it. That means I'm doing something right with entertaining or making you laugh, whatever. I'm glad about that. Sorry about my hair. I'm in the middle of a growing phase. It's kind of a mess right now.
A growing phase. He's going from old Caddy to new modern Caddy.
Don't know if I should be brushing it or leaving it to do its own thing. This is me leaving to do its own thing. It looks kind of silly, but you know, what can I do? I could put a hat on.
This is mid-transformation.
Anyway, special thank you to all the people on screen right now that have supported this channel via my Patreon page in the description below. Thank you so much to all of you. You can find loads of different benefits and tiers if you check out my Patreon page. So, ND the Dude, Exopaz, Math, Anders Amdal, and Alex Van Kirk. Thank you so much, every single one of you amazing people.
Garnered more of a cult following more than a pop culture. I can't talk in this. I'm just assuming you've all played the original already. I'm going down. The original game sold decently at the time, at least enough to make a sequel to. I was about to say 2,000 years later. Oh my god! Yeah, no. If you've never played the original game before, then everything I just said will sway. No. I'll tell you what. Yesterday was that big.
This isn't right. It feels like you're just.
Well, I am.
Well, I know, but
you keep still?
Sorry, it feels like you're like actually.
Nice. We love it. We love it. Nice. So this is like one of the last old Caddy videos before new Caddy, and you could see it in his hair, and I find that hilarious. But yeah, another good one, and I need to play this fucking game. I know, guys.